How are you able to solve these problems? What would that ideal life look like? The job, the dog, the husband, the career. What do you do now that compounded will ruin your life? You roughly have a 99% chance of living the next 5 years. Those are pretty good odds, and I strongly believe that the best way to make the most of the rest of your life is to know the direction you want to go. You're likely watching this video because you want some sort of inspiration or direction for how to create your own 5-year plan, for which I applaud you. Not a lot of people are actually doing this. These are the 4 steps that I've taken to create my own 5-year plan, and at the end of this video, I'm also going to share the Notion template that I used to create my 5-year plan. But real quick, my goal is to hit 5,000 subscribers by February, which is in about a month and a half. So I would really appreciate it if you would want to subscribe to my channel and support my videos. Before we start thinking about what we want, I want to make sure that our minds are clear. Are the decisions that you're making about your future being influenced by external pressures, things like societal pressure, your family, or even a significant other? The next thing I want you to keep in mind is that this is a 5-year plan, and you know what they say about plans. Mark Dever put it really well when he said, "Your plans are fine as long as you understand that God has the right to change your plan." What I mean is that along the way, over the next 5 years, you'll learn more about yourself and what you truly desire and what is really calling your name. Or you may see something that you thought you've always really wanted and then realize, you know, maybe that isn't for me, maybe that's not what I want. The purpose of creating a 5-year plan is to create some sort of direction. Deep down, you know exactly what you want your life to look like 5 years from now. So by creating a plan, you are able to then create daily rituals that align with your goals. This is how we ensure that this doesn't end up as another vision board or New Year's resolution or one of the other previous 5-year plans that you've made that end up being forgotten about. The next thing that we're going to do is think back over the next 5 years and try and create patterns. What are things that have compounded that have led us to where we are right now? What do you do now that compounded will improve your life? And what do you do now that compounded will ruin your life? The list of good things that you may be doing right now could look something like calling your mom, having plants in your home, going for a morning run, having inspiring, loving friends, only drinking on Saturdays, maintaining a budget, practicing gratitude. The list of bad things might look like not having a clear line between work and family, abusing alcohol and or drugs, abusing screen time, consistently eating nutritional lacking food, isolating yourself, being argumentative, or being around people who constantly complain and gossip. This will create the first layer of your 5-year plan so that you can begin to create a life that is enjoyable and beneficial long term. If your fairy godmother came along and gave you everything you've ever wanted, what would that ideal life look like? When I ask myself this question, it allows me to consider what I think is the actual best for my life rather than what's just realistic. Because God does not want us to think realistic because that's limiting and honestly it's kind of boring. He wants us to think large. The bigger and the grander the plan that you have an idea of for your life, the better. That being said, when this is done with love rather than a place of greed. When I first began making my own 5-year plan, this prompt honestly made me feel really stuck. I could picture what I wanted for my life. I knew the big things that I wanted, but it seemed so unrealistic and it was drastically different from what my current life looked like. It was just hard for me to picture it for myself. So something that I did and something that I suggest to my clients do and they found super helpful is write a story about someone else living your ideal life. When I do this, I give her a different name and I write down everything that I wanted for myself. The job, the house, the dog, the car, the husband, the lifestyle, the career, everything. I personally find it easier to draw in something that someone else might have rather than create it from thin air by myself. So by writing this story, I'm able to be more imaginative and get my creative juices flowing so I'm more receptive to ideas and inspiration. So now we know the outline of our 5-year plan. We have an idea of what we want our life to look like. Let's create the details. I created this Notion template as a guide to help me create my own 5-year plan. So this is a template of the one that I personally used. And you can see that I created prompts for each one. So I give you examples and I will go into each of these. So you can see the categories are career, your daily life, your finances, your friends and family, your home, you as a person, and spirituality. For each category, what you're going to do is write down every single solitary detail of what this specific category of your life is going to look like. The way that I found easiest to do this is to bring in the 5 senses. So touch, feel, see, taste, and hear. For most of the categories, instead of using touch, I use more so feel. So like the emotional feeling that you are feeling in this certain category. How do you feel about it? I can guarantee that you will not be living in a utopia in 5 years, so plan for the problems that yourself in 5 years might be coming across. It's okay to have problems. It's not like you're creating a 5-year plan set for doom. The purpose of this is to create the identity that you have within yourself. How are you able to solve these problems? What problem-solving skills do you have? The patience that you're having to practice, those kinds of things. I like to think about what my favorite version of myself does rather than the best version. For some reason, rewording it that way in my head just helps me sink into my ideal self. I believe that planning for realistic problems that you're probably going to face makes that reality all the more real and attainable. So let's dive into an example. What do I mean by this? How are you going to apply this to your 5-year plan? Let's say that in 5 years, you own your own interior design firm. What are problems that you might run into? How would you describe your career in 5 years? So I wrote out an example of what I would say if in 5 years I imagined myself being an interior designer. That was my goal. I would say something like, I'm the CEO of an interior design firm that brings in $2.3 million a year. I walk into the studio every day with an immense sense of pride and excitement. I love having a job that feels so fulfilling. The first thing I do is greet Marcy, who handles our retail portion of the studio, and her dog she brings in. Then I meet with Harper, who gives me a rundown of where we're at with each client. Sometimes the rundowns are quick and easy, but other times we have a particular client who can't seem to decide on the direction they want to go in for their home. This could be frustrating, especially when they go in for 5th or 6th revisions. But for me, it's a part of the job, and it brings me all the more satisfaction when I see them light up at an idea I suggest, and the job ends up being so much more beautiful than either of us could have imagined. So you can see I'm painting a very vivid picture of what a typical morning looks like as an interior design firm owner. Creating this 5-year plan can be super time consuming, and personally, I find it exhausting after a few minutes of trying to create this ideal life. And I just want you to remember that this is just life. You're not supposed to have this firm grip on what your 5-year plan is going to look like. Allow it to flow to you as it comes. Don't be super about it. So something that I do is I'll do this over the course of a few days. In the morning, I'll just add a little bit, 10 minutes of creating my 5-year plan into my morning routine. And after about a week, it should be completed, or it could be, I shouldn't say should, it could be completed, but don't try and do this all in one day. I think it's much better when it kind of comes to you in a flowing state. If you enjoyed this video and haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you would like this video. It lets the algorithm know that people like this video. And please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. My goal is to hit 5,000 subscribers by February. I hope you have the most lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.